First thing I gotta say is after watching Barbie, I can understand why Ryan Gosling is the talk of the town. I am Kenough. The fact that he was like the one that got nominated Best Supporting Actor, because let's face it, he's the only one that mattered. So I have to represent, you know, for Ken, I have to embrace the pink. Yeah. So this movie basically started off, and I know it was going for the reference to the classic film, but the symbology.
And I'm sure the word you were looking for was symbolism. What is the symbolism?
It had here was absolutely. It felt uncomfortable for me. They had little girls literally destroying baby dolls, like crushing the skulls, tossing them to the ground. If that doesn't sit right with you, I don't understand, because that just felt off. That felt so wrong. But that's exactly how the movie starts, and then it goes into the Barbie world. And I gotta say, I actually did enjoy it. I enjoyed how everything was a toy structure, the way the cars moved. It looked like literally someone was pushing a doll car. I liked all of the little aesthetics of it, because it was reminding me of the Lego movie, where it's all in the kid's imagination. It's all there. But there are so many things wrong, because each Barbie is like a reference to a Barbie, and apparently each girl in the world, it makes no gosh dang sense. It absolutely makes no sense if you think about it, but you're not supposed to think about it. It's a story, it's a movie, it's supposed to have fun. And I did not. So it starts off with Barbie. She's the perfect at everything. I didn't care for her. Because they start off, it's like, okay, I like how it's going. I like how it's shot. I like the world. It seems very, very dollhouse-ish. And then they introduce Ken. And I immediately felt sorry for Ken. Because he wanted to be seen by the one he loved. He cared for Barbie, but Barbie does not give a crap about him. And I gotta say as well, Alan was probably the second best part. There was Ken, and then there was Alan. That's about it. Those are the only two really worth really paying attention to. But apparently some kind of dumb thing happened, which apparently Barbie was thinking about her owner, and her owner was thinking about Barbie, and because they were thinking about each other at the same time, and the owner was getting depressed and having thoughts of death, it created a portal from the real world to, and I use real world very, very loosely, and it used a portal from the real world to the imaginary world, and then Barbie basically goes there to meet her owner and put things in order so she can become porcelain once again. I don't know what. Yeah, it literally makes no sense, but Ken goes along. He sneaks along with her, and he's a second class. He's even less there than second class citizen. He's more like a pet. He's a pet dog at that point in time, and it's like, oh my gosh, we've made so much progression in society, and they're literally regressing everything just because woman empowerment. It's like, if there's equality, it would be nice to have equality. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. It's a Barbie movie. They were doing what they thought was right. It started off wrong. Poor Ken. Barbie was perfect. She just had dealing with this one little thing. But Ken, the second Ken was on screen, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every aspect, because he's like this child. He's frustrated. He keeps wanting Barbie to recognize him. And then he comes to a world. He sees guys in the gym. He sees men driving cars. He sees men doing like everything. He has a woman approach him and ask him for the time. The fact, like, that was like, that felt like it would break me if that was actually real. The fact that he was asked for the time, and that was seen as the greatest thing in the world. I mean, how messed up do you have to be where you came from for that to be something that is incredibly wonderful and iconic and one of the best things you'll ever talk about? I mean, that just says such bad things about the Barbie world, the perfect world. It sends up so many red flags, but I was like, you know what? This is the story they're going for. So he learns about the patriarchy and horses, because apparently horses and patriarchy go hand in hand. That's what he thought. And he brings it back to Barbie world. And you know what? As soon as he left, the real world, I lost interest. I didn't care for what Barbie was doing there. I didn't care for what the other real people were doing there. And then you go to Mattel, and oh my gosh, the fictional places they have in Mattel. Like, they go to the Ruth, the creator of Barbie. They go to her and she's like in her own pocket dimension in Mattel. And I'm like, this is the real world. At least have some kind of grounding. Because I was like, yeah, maybe something like the Lego movie, where it's all in someone's imagination. Like in the Lego movie, it was the kid's imagination, and his father, which was played by Will Ferrell, was the one who was the crap. What was he called? The one that wanted to make everything glued and stay forever. I liked it because it was what was going on in the real world. So his kid was imagining that. Here, I have no clue. They call it the real world, but it's the same fictional stuff. I know it's a movie. I know it's a movie. But it was just like, where is anyone supposed to relate to any of this? But yeah, Ken went back to the Barbie world, and I was happy for Ken to go back. I didn't care for anything else. Nothing else truly mattered. And then Barbie goes back to Barbie world, and with the two humans, her owner, toy owner, I don't know entirely. I never understood exactly what she was to her, but her owner, the toy, whatever it is. I mean, I'm confused trying to explain it. It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. But she works at Mattel, of course. Very small world. There's only Central City, I guess. That's all that matters. Like, I guess. But yeah, they go back to the Barbie world, and guess what? Everyone's happy. The Kens are in charge. The women are enjoying just doing nothing, and then they said it was all brainwashing. I mean, brainwashing doesn't happen in a matter of minutes, but I don't understand. There was just the word they used. It was brainwashing, but everyone seemed happy in their roles. The Kens were happy. They were actually being recognized, and the women were happy because they were also actually had a voice at that same point in time. Which is funny is during the Kendom, women, the Barbies still had more of a voice than the Kens ever did during the whole reign of Barbie. It was absolutely aggravating to see that. But everyone's happy, and guess what? Barbie, after she returns back, sees everyone depressed, and I don't know why they did this. They had a reel in like the real world, because what happens in the Barbie land affects the real world. And when the Kendom was taking charge, Mattel started making a ton of money off of the Kendom because Barbie was out the door and Ken was the new, it thing. But then Barbie starts getting depressed, and I don't know why. They brought up the Pride and Prejudice BBC. I love the Pride and Prejudice BBC. 8 episodes of absolute awesomeness. That's how I always felt books should be reinterpreted as shows, and they did it so well. Like, I know some people like the Keira Knightley, my fiance likes the Keira Knightley movie. I don't, because it doesn't have everything that is in the BBC. I would watch the BBC multiple times. I love that show. Absolutely love that show. I forced my fiance to watch it. I forced her to because it's such a good show. But yeah, the fact that they use that as, oh, you're depressed, you're gonna watch the BBC Pride and Prejudice. I'm like, no. But then, of course, the girl who works at Mattel, the lady that happens to be the owner of the Barbie doll that Barbie went there to go find, she does a very weird, wordy speech that really just sounded like complaining, which is basically, suck it up. We all have to deal with struggles. Deal with it. That's basically all she had to say. But she was going on about patriarchy, going on about all this other stuff. And in my mind, I'm just like, you lost me. This is like the Captain American Falcon, whatever, his speech, where he's like, okay, you got it in the first 10 seconds. And then he continues on for like a good 3 minutes. And I'm like, all right, you've lost your point. You've gone off the rails. You're just wanting to complain at that point in time. And I can relate. When I get passionate about something, I just consistently babble. Consistently. But yeah, they give this speech to every single Barbie in the Kendom. every single Barbie, this girl, this lady, this woman, whatever she is, has to give the speech to every single one. And oh my gosh, it was absolutely absolutely ridiculous. But in order for them to get to the Kendom entirely, they needed to get to the Ken. They needed to get to Ryan Gosling's character. And Barbie finally dresses up, finally pretends to care for him. And you can tell, oh, this was absolutely devastating, because this is why I've always said, like, Ken is the one with the arc. After watching it, it's like, Ken is the one with the story. I can see why people defend Ken, because he has a story. From the beginning, he loves Barbie. He wants to be acknowledged and have a place in her world. He doesn't. And then he goes to the real world, again, whatever, and realizes that they could actually have a voice. Goes back to the Barbie kingdom, and every time he sees her, he keeps trying to rope her into everything, to be closer to her. So what does Barbie do? She plays on that like a freaking minx. Goes to him, pretends to care, just to make him fight with the other Kens. But I gotta say, the one thing about the Kens fighting is that it like, I already knew how it was gonna end. It looked like guys when they're playing like sports. I'll just use the word sports, because you know what, going too vague and everything, that's much easier. They were like throwing frisbees, beach balls, tossing like Nerf darts and things like that, Nerf arrows, things like that. It looked like so much fun. It was like, I would love to be there. And I already knew how it was going to end. Of course, the dudes are going to hold hands and just be buddies, because that's what dudes do. They will argue. They will curse each other out. But at the end of the day, dudes have the ability to just, well, forget about it easily. We have a very low, not attention span. We just forget stuff easily. I mean, I'm pretty sure it grinds on women for sure, especially those of you women who are married. You probably understand what I'm saying. It probably absolutely bothers you how easily guys forget stuff. We just are like, oh, well, we're good. Because we just forget about it a few moments later. It's not something we dwell on or fixate on. We just easily forget it. So the Kens immediately are bros at the end. Absolutely bros. And I am Kenough. I am Kenough. I love that song. I can understand why everyone's so raging about Ken. Ken is the absolute gold mine of this movie. He's the absolute perfect aspect of this movie. He's the only reason worth watching it. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend anyone watching this movie. But Ken did everything for Barbie. Ken's arc is so tragic, because when he realizes he was just toyed with, when he realizes, like, he's all, it's Barbie and Ken, I am nothing without you, because he loves her. And she's all, you need to figure out who you are without me, because she doesn't care the same way. And yes, there are one-sided relationships. Yes, there are one-sided feelings. Yes, there are one-sided everything. And Ken's just stuck in that. And then he has to learn to live with himself. What does Barbie do? I don't know. Apparently, she's shown some visions about the real world. And I'm still using that term very loosely. About the real world, because she wants to become human. And then it ends with her basically going to see a gynecologist. What is going on? What was the point of this movie? I mean, other than to give Ryan Gosling, get him nominated. Other than that, what was the point of this movie? This movie got me so angry. There were so many parts that I just was rolling my eyes at. I mean, and I was watching it with my fiance. She didn't like it either. She absolutely hated it. Of course, I guess she didn't care for Barbie growing up, but it's one of those things you have to actually do. I have G.I. Joes, and those are basically my Barbies. I always knew that that's what they are. They're dolls. They're Barbies. So, yeah, I have my G.I. Joes, and I could see Ken as the G.I. Joes. That's just it. That was it. Oh my gosh, I can't understand the point of this. I know it's but this proves that there is a market for women in movies. Absolutely. I mean, this made $1 billion in theaters, and it's still making money as it's coming out because people are loving it. I don't know how. It wasn't made for me, but I was there for Ken. I was there to represent and show my support for the Kendom. Oh, It's funny because the kendo was supposed to be patriarchy, and what I absolutely loved that Ken has this line. It was just like, I thought patriarchy had horses, and when I found out that there were no horses in the patriarchy, I kind of lost interest. It was like, yeah, that's what it's like. You'll find things interesting, and then you'll lose interest in things. It was like Ken was learning who he was. He was learning to find interest in things. He was learning, oh, I like horses. The patriarchy is nonsense, but the Mojo Dojo Casa House is absolutely... I was like, don't need to say them all. It's like, say it together. It just sounds good. Mojo Dojo Casa House. Mojo Dojo Casa House. That just sounds so awesome. But yeah, I am Kenough. I absolutely love Ken. I can't say this movie. This movie was absolutely awful. I would never recommend this movie to anyone to watch because it's just that bad. There's no sense of any storytelling except for Ken. Again, I can't reiterate that enough. Ken is the only one with the story in this movie. The only one. It's a Barbie movie, and they gave the story to Ken. I mean, who? What? But yeah, I did not enjoy this movie. I will never watch this movie again, but I will always show my support for the Kingdom. I am Kenough. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.